الله أكبر. الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله، أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله، أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله، أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله، أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله، أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله، أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله، أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة، حي على الصلاة، حي على الفلاح، حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الحمد لله عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته ومنتهى علمه وجميع ما شاء وخلق وذرع وبعد عالم الغيب والشهادة الرحمن الرحيم الملك القدوس العزيز الحكيم. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، له الملك وله الحمد يحيي ويميت بيده الخير وهو على كل شيء قدير. وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم أرسله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله ولو كره المشركون. أما بعد، فيقول الله تعالى في سورة المائدة: من أجل ذلك كتبنا على بني إسرائيل أنه من قتل نفسا بغير نفس أو فساد في الأرض فكأنما قتل الناس جميعا ومن أحياها فكأنما أحيا الناس جميعا ولقد جاءتهم رسلنا بالبينات ثم إن كثيرا منهم بعد ذلك في الأرض لا مسرفون. صدق الله العظيم. We begin by mentioning the ayat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which can be found in Surah Al-Ma'idah, Surah 5, ayat 32, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions something, and before I actually mention the verse from the Quran, the context is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was showing us or telling us about the story of Habil wa Qabil. You know, Abel and Cain, the two sons of Adam, and how one of them, they both offered sacrifice to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but Allah accepted it from one and not the other. And so the one whom the sacrifice wasn't accepted from became jealous of the other one, and he threatened to kill him. And the Habil, he said, if you kill me, if you reach your hand out to kill me, I'm not going to do the same thing I'm not going to do the same thing to you. I'm going to let you draw my sin upon you and take your own sin. And so Qabil killed Habil. And after he killed him, he didn't know what to do. This is the first murder in the history of human beings, the history of mankind. And so a crow came and was scratching the earth. And he took a sign from that this is what I should do with the body, bury it in the earth. And then he began to feel regretful. He said, I did this and I don't even know what to do with the body. So this is the first murder in the history of the human race. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says after that, because of that, we ordained or we have prescribed for Bani Israel that if a person is killed, that if anyone killed a person, not in retaliation for murder or for spreading fasad fil ard or mischief in the earth, it would be as if he killed all of humanity. In other words, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that if somebody kills somebody else unjustly, there's no reason from the Sharia that justifies it. There's no reason from an Islamic perspective that justifies this killing. Then it will be that you killing that one person, it is as if you killed all of mankind. And if a person saves or preserves a life of someone, it will be as if he saved the life of all of mankind. And then the verse continues, and indeed there came to them our messengers with clear proofs and evidences and signs. Even then, after that, many of them continued to exceed the limits in the land. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as it was narrated to us by Anas ibn Malik, radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he said that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Akbaru kabira, that the biggest of sins, like when we say Allahu Akbar, that means Allah is greater, Allahu Akbar min kulli shay, that's really the whole statement. Allah is bigger than everything. In other words, in English it means Allah is the greatest. Akbar. Kabir is a lesser form. Like you say big, bigger, biggest, right? Kabir, Akbar. Somebody's big, right? Kaba'ir is plural of kabir. So kaba'ir is what we know when you usually hear the word kaba'ir is talking about usually sins, major sins. In fact, Imam al-Dhahabi, rahimahullah, he has a book called Al-Kaba'ir, a book listing the major sins. A very well-known, famous book, been translated into English by many people. The major sins, Al-Kaba'ir. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, he said, Akbar al-Kaba'ir, the biggest of sins is al-ishraku billah, associating partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then he said, qatlul nas, the killing of somebody unjustly. And then he said after that, uququ walidain, that you sever or you break ties or you disrespect your parents. So the major sins. There are many hadith that begin like this. Obviously, we're mentioning this because of what is taking place around the country and is known all over the world. And if you listen to the news, you would think the most important thing that happened were the riots wherein property was destroyed. If you listen to the news, that's the biggest thing that happened. Riots took place and a CVS was burned down, police patrol cars were burned in Baltimore, Maryland. That's the biggest thing that happened. It's not the biggest thing that happened. The biggest thing that happened is that Freddie Gray was killed unjustly. That's the biggest thing that happened. And he is merely one in a long line of people, primarily black people, who have been killed by law enforcement unjustly. That's the biggest thing that has happened. And so what has happened? According to the police, Freddie was with somebody else, and he made eye contact with the police, and them two, him and the person he was with, immediately start running, start taking flight. And the police chased him. And then they caught him and they subdued him. And this is where you see different videos popping up where they're handcuffing him and arresting him and dragging him to the police car. And you hear him screaming. He's screaming, and you can tell by the pitch and the intensity of the scream that he's in pain. And his legs was buckled and almost folded up the opposite way that it's supposed to go, like a pretzel. And so he is taken into the police van. And all of a sudden, the news goes black. You know, we don't know what happened. We know that he suffered a spinal cord injury while in police custody, where he was almost decapitated. And his spine was severed 80% of the way from the back of his neck. So his spine was basically his head was almost severed, you know, by the spinal column from the spine. 80%. That's almost all the way messed up. He slipped into a coma and died about a week later. And so on the day of his funeral and memorial, people were protesting, and it got ugly. They called in the National Guard. They instituted a curfew, which is still in effect now. And so what's most newsworthy and the most important thing, the serious thing that's taking place right now, the thing we need to be concerned about, is the looting, the stealing, and the destruction of property. That's more important. That's the heart of the issue. Not the fact that the police killed somebody for running. And I don't know, because I haven't verified the source, but it is said that Freddie had other run-ins with police and won a lawsuit. And so that this may be retaliation for winning that lawsuit. If you know the history of many police departments in this country, if you win a lawsuit against them for $1, they don't like it. It was said that this was the case with Ahmadou Diallo in New York City over a decade ago when he was killed. He said they were actually looking for his cousin, who had filed complaints against the New York City Police Department for police brutality, harassment, and such. And so they came looking for him and got the wrong one. I forgot how many bullets he got shot with, 40-something. So this is the situation. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. الحمد لله رب العالمين وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ورضي الله تعالى عن سادة التابعين وعلماء العاملين وأئمة الأربعة المجتهدين ومقلدين إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. I've said, and I will continue to say, that Muslims, whether we recognize it or not, whether we step up to the plate and claim our place, we are the caretakers of humanity. If we don't get it right, nobody else will get it right. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran that we are the best people extracted from mankind. So Ali Imran, the Ummah Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Why? تَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَتَنْهَوْنَ عَلَى الْمُنْكَرِ وَتُؤْمِنُونَ بِاللَّهِ. Because we enjoy what is right and we forbid what is wrong and we believe in Allah. This Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahi al Munkar is an intrinsic part of Islam. You cannot separate social justice and establishing what is right and forbidding what is wrong from Islam. If you do, you don't have Islam. It's embedded in the Quran in more than one place. A little earlier in the same surah, Surah Ali Imran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَالْتَاكُمْ مِنْكُمْ أُمَّةٌ يَدْعُونَ إِلَى الْخَيْرِ يَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَيَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنكَرِ وَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. Let there arise out of you a group of people that is inviting to that which is khair, which is good, enjoining what is right and forbidding what is wrong. That phrase again, enjoining what is right and forbidding what is wrong. وَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. Those are the ones who are successful. You want success, you have to have that in your life. You can't be oblivious to what's going on. I don't care, as long as it don't affect me. That's not success, that's failure. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, "Man ra'a minkum munkaran falyughayyirhu biyadihi." Whoever amongst you sees an evil has to change it with his hands. Again, in the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Muslims don't see evil and they just cool with it. Has to change it with his hands. فَإِنْ لَمْ يَسْتَطِعْ فَبِلِسَانِهِ. And if he's not able to do that, he has to change it with his tongue. In other words, he has to say something that's going to stop the evil. فَإِنْ لَمْ يَسْتَطِعْ فَبِقَلْبِهِ. And if he's not able to say something to change the evil, he has to change it with his heart. What does that mean? He has to protect his heart so that his heart doesn't eventually become cool with that evil. That's the danger of evil, seeing evil, being a witness to evil, and not saying anything or doing anything about it. Because as long as you witness it, and you don't do anything about it, you don't say anything about it, it's only a short period of time before you'll be cool with it. And then if it goes on even more than that, you'll be doing it yourself. It's the same thing with music. If you listen to the radio, the most horrible song will come on. Oh, who made this? This song stink. It's horrible. Oh, and it's not even music anymore. If you continue listening to the radio, you'll be like, all right, you won't complain about it so much. And now, because of the radio, the same song come on 3-4 times every hour. So you listen to the radio for 1 hour. You done heard the song at least 2 or 3 times already. Before the day's out, that song that you hated, you'll be like this. Oh, yeah. That's what you want right there. You just hated it earlier today. Why? Because you heard that evil song. This is like almost mixing apples and oranges. But you get the point about the psychology of people. Something that you hate so much, you can't stand it, but it's in your presence. And you don't actively fight against it. Before a period of time will come, you'll start liking that thing. And so the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said we have to protect our heart by changing it with our heart. By protecting it, by changing it with our heart. You may not be able to do, we individuals or even as communities, we may not have the ability. We may not be in the right position to stop police from killing innocent people on the street. We may not be able to say anything that will prevent them from killing innocent people in the street. But the least you could do is to protect your heart, to make sure you don't become cool with it. And then the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam finished off that hadith. He said, وَذَلِكَ أَضْعَفُ الْإِيمَانِ. أَضْعَفُ الْإِيمَانِ. We talked about Kabir and Akbar, right? The hadith is da'if, aki, adaf, right? It's the weakest, weakest, bigger, right? ذَلِكَ أَضْعَفُ الْإِيمَانِ. That's the weakest of faith. Somebody hating in their heart. That's the weakest. We always talk about tartib, order. Change it with your hands. Hate it in your heart. Change it with your tongue. Hate it in your heart. Another hadith, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, there is no faith after that. If you don't hate it in your heart, you don't have no faith. You don't have no iman. This is the seriousness of this thing. And so you figure that with the Muslims that have this principle embedded in their deen, embedded in the Quran and the Sunnah, with regards to enjoining what is right and forbidding what is wrong, you would figure us Muslims will be at the forefront of trying to do something to prevent that. Ooh. We sleep. Almost all of us. Very few of us. Some of us, while murder and all this kind of stuff is going on right outside the masjid, we are inside the masjid. As one of my brothers was talking on the phone, studying Aqidah Imam Tahawi. Bullets flying in front of the masjid, police killing each other. Okay, what's the first point of Aqidah? And this is important, don't get me wrong. Or we're in the masjids arguing about this or that. But it's even worse now, because I contend we're not in the masjids doing these things anymore. We're doing it online, so we're at home. Not even, we're in a coffee shop, we're in Starbucks, we're on Facebook, arguing and discussing and learning and YouTube. We're not even in the masjid doing that anymore. While these things are going going on in the street all around us. So we're not involved. And I want to make something clear. When we say involved, we mean actually involved, doing work, trying to make our environment better, not just putting out statements to be seen of men. The Muslims need to be out there. Where's our voice? We need to be heard. That's not even an Islamic way of thinking. That's all surface and no substance. We want substance, whether we're seen or unseen. We want to be on the scene correcting the situation. Not just there, see the Muslims are there. See, yeah, we need to send some Muslims to Baltimore. Where the cameras at? Yeah, we doing the right thing. No, the Muslims don't think like that. The Muslims try to correct the situation, the evil, not be seen. That's called riyah in Islam. Doing things for other than the sake of Allah, wanting to be seen. You doing it, you want to be seen. But they need to know that we're out there and that we care. No, actually care. Not put the image out there that you care. No, actually care. It's a difference. They need to know that we're out there and we're trying to do the right thing. Well, just do the right thing. It'll come out, whether it comes out or not. Just do the right thing. We don't want to be people that caught up in the cycle of just, okay, we need to make a statement on our position regarding this. And some of us has fallen into the miserable trap of doing that. Like ISNA, the Islamic Society of North America. Half of you probably don't even know who they are, right? Because they're irrelevant. You know, they're like software running in the background. Really, for a lot of us. You know, you have a computer, or you have a phone, you have apps on your phone. There's other apps and software running on your phone and your computer that you don't see. An icon may not be there. For many of us, ISNA is that. Like a lot of you say, well, what time do we pray? Download the prayer schedule. You don't know it, but that prayer schedule and the method that they use to choose the time, the Qibla, when Ramadan starts and all that, that's the ISNA software running in the background. You don't know it though, because you don't know history. You don't really dig too deep. That's the ISNA software. You just assume it's always been there since I've been Muslim. I should use it. That's ISNA. And they're like an umbrella organization. There's a lot of organizations that they run. There's a lot of matches under them, at least one of them in this local area connected to them. ISNA put out a statement. And as one person said from another organization, they said Freddie Gray was killed, no statement from ISNA. Funeral, no statement from ISNA. Peaceful protest, no statement from ISNA. Riots and the destruction of property, statement of ISNA. Statement from ISNA. And you know the beautiful thing about it is, if you go on ISNA's Facebook page, ISNA was condemned by almost everybody that commented on that statement. And most of them that commented wasn't black. I think that's the beautiful thing about it. Many of them, Arabs, Pakistanis, said that this statement that you made is insensitive. And it shows how much you're disconnected from the people you claim to represent. You think that the destruction of property is more important than a black life. Some people said, ISNA, go home. That's what they were saying. It wasn't black people that were saying it. You're irrelevant. You're probably upset because probably the people on your board and that run your organization have liquor stores and stuff set up in neighborhoods like this, and probably some of their stores got destroyed. That's why you're probably upset. And so they came out with another statement after that. They came out with another statement after that. And everybody that commented on that statement was like, the first comment that says, no, fail. That's the first comment. You failed. In other words, you were sincere in your first comment, where you were more concerned about property than the lives of black people. And like I say, I don't have no respect for any organization, Muslim or not, that puts the value of property over the lives of any people, especially my people, black people. if you're provoked, is disturbed by the recent violence and riots that's taking place in Baltimore, Maryland. You wasn't disturbed by the police killing Freddie Gray on camera, him screaming for his life, him asking for an asthma pump. They know you can't get it. That didn't disturb you. You got disturbed when property got destroyed. Our priorities need to be in order. And you would figure that Muslims would know that. We were having a discussion about this. And somebody took the words right out of my mouth. I was working, so I couldn't type what I wanted to. And I checked the stat again. Somebody beat me to it. I said, MashaAllah, may Allah reward you. Somebody said that instead of making statements, it's the need to supply some money to those masters that's in the hood that's trying to do the work to correct the situation. I get a little bit more specific than that. All the masjids and Muslim organizations that provide social services for people, they should be funded. See, making statements and all that stuff is cheap. Talk is cheap. No, we're really with you. No, we don't want to hear all that stuff. That's like, you have a sports team, right? Just imagine a team, right? That only had cheerleaders. That the players and the cheerleaders. No coach, no manager, no general manager, no owner, no nothing. Just team cheerleaders. That ain't gonna work. There's a whole bunch of people, right, you can do it, nobody can. Right, that don't help. You get me hyped up, I ain't got no organization, ain't got no money, ain't got no leadership. How's that gonna help? We support you from right here. Nah, that talk is cheap. If people really want to support you, see what they do to help you, not what they say. Now, of course, somebody giving you encouragement, I really like what you're doing, do the good work. Of course, that's needed. It's a motivational factor. Well, what motivates you more is if you actually do something to help. I've been to Baltimore before. Baltimore and many other cities in across the United States. There are Muslim organizations, Muslim masjids run by African Americans, and they're actually doing stuff. They're feeding homeless people. They provide re-entry services for brothers and sisters getting out of prison. They're doing a whole lot of work that's actually affecting the community, and they're not being helped. They're not being financed. The same building that they provide these services from, their roofs are leaking. Every month they're scrambling to pay the electric bill, the water bill. But yet you can go to those masjids and pray for all 5 prayers there. You can get those masjids, and it's funny, I bear witness from this here. There's masjids in this area that have way more money than we got. But when somebody needs money, they don't go there, they come here asking for money. And if we can't give it to them, they look at us like, look at us when we're doing something wrong. I'm like, subhanAllah, that's amazing. I can name other masjids here. If you take the salary of all of us in this room, those masjids got brothers sitting there where one person makes a salary of all of us sitting here. But you come and ask us for money. And they're not expected to give money. Nah. And so these things need to be called out. These are, well, maybe we shouldn't talk about that. No, I'm not that type of person. We soft shoe and then just, sing kumbaya and, don't worry, be happy. Nah. Be happy later. And so when you have situations like that, then people get, real insensitive and they talk real smart at the mouth. You real disturbed by the violence and do you realize what caused that violence? How you talk about, that's me sitting here and, I go to your house, it's cold, there's all types of germs everywhere, then I start coughing and sneezing. And then you say, well, I really appreciate you coughing and sneezing in my house, man. At least you can do cover your mouth. Well, at least you can do is turn the heat on and clean up around here. I wasn't sneezing before I got here. Your house is filthy. You don't talk about me coughing and sneezing. How about you correct the situation that started me coughing and sneezing? We like to talk about the effect or the result and not the underlying cause. And Muslims are not like that. Muslims are social people. And we get at the surface, the essence of things. That's why the da'wah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was so effective. One man from a tribe came to him and he said, "Can I have some sadaqah?" The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he gave him a valley full of sheep. He didn't have to say, "No, let me talk to you about Islam. Let me explain to you our aqidah. Let me show you, all that stuff." No, he's a person, he wasn't Muslim. He had a need. He came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he gave him more than what he asked for. A valley full of sheep. It's funny, Anas ibn Malik narrated this hadith too. The person ran back to his people and said, "Ya qawmi, aslamu. Oh my people, become Muslim. Because Muhammad gives so much that once he gives you, you never fear poverty again." Then Anas ibn Malik, he's narrating the hadith, he comments. He said, people come to Islam for many reasons. But after a while, Allah and His Messenger become more dear to them than anything else. This is what the Sahaba Anas ibn Malik said about this situation. We have Muslims that are affluent. They can actually literally buy, some of these individual Muslims can actually buy a whole neighborhood. All those houses burnt down and all that, the decrepit housing and all that, this one person come and buy a whole block. Literally. That's how, low the property value is in some of these areas. And that's not happening. Muslims are not providing services. The ones who have the ability to provide services to the non-Muslims, they're not doing it. But what are they doing? They're making statements talking about how disappointed they are in those people. See, when Islam is growing amongst people, you find that there's Muslims there that actually care about the people and is actually doing things to benefit the people. So we have to look at these things in conclusion as if we're doctors. And we can't sit around waiting for everybody else to do. We may not have the means, but we have to do the best with what we have. We have to, number one, and don't think that's way over there in Baltimore. I don't know if you pay attention to what's going on. They're amping this thing up. For some reason, they want this stuff to go on. That's why they're publicizing it so much. That, they talking about equipping these police with these body cameras. This stuff is already on camera. How's putting more cameras going to stop it? More cameras, we see it from more than one angle. It's just professional, recording quality. We get it from the spectator's version. We get it from this angle, from the police's shirt. We get more angles of the killing. It's not going to stop. For some reason, Allah knows best what the reason is. They want this thing to escalate. I personally think they wanted to happen. They wanted stuff like Baltimore to jump off. And so you're going to see more. A few months ago, it was Ferguson, it was New York, now it's Baltimore, it was San Francisco, it's all over the place. And there's a whole lot more. Those are just the big ones that's capturing the news more than anything else. Do you know that they say every 28 hours, an unarmed black man is killed by a police officer in this country? Every 28 hours. Almost every day this is happening. This is not just something that's happening every 6 months or once every year. No, every 28 hours. And they want to equip these police departments so that they can get a good view of the killing. It's like lynching. We used to get lynched in this country. It wasn't something secret. And by the way, lynching didn't take place during slavery. Lynching took place after slavery. It was an event. It was like, they would actually announce it during church. Like after June, we have announcements. At church, they have announcements. Yeah, such we're going to have a dinner. Such we're going to lynch this nigger over here. By the way, make sure you come, wear your best clothes. This is what he used to advertise. And then they used to, literally after hanging the person, sometimes burning them to death, they would take souvenirs off the black person's body. They would take his balls, his fingers, his hands, and different parts from his body and hang it on their mantelpiece. Literally. I'm not making this up and I'm not exaggerating. And it didn't happen once or a couple of times. It was normal in this country. And if you look, just Google it. The technology is there. They're not hiding it. Google it. You see the people, they lynching black people. You see well-dressed white men, women, and children. And look at the children. The children, they're like, yeah, the camera, yeah, look, yeah. This is where they came from. You think these are upright, decent, moral human beings? No. They don't even look at us like human beings. That's why they're able to do it. Even in some police departments, they have code words and language that they openly use to describe when something takes place and it involves a black person. Like NHI, I forgot one of the departments in California. No human involved. Like if a black person gets killed, NHI. They talk on the NHI, no human involved. Like, well, it's not really a priority situation. This is what they think of us. Don't think about this thing is all technical. Well, we're 3/5 of the human being. That was only about voting and, no, it's deeper than that. They don't look at black people like human beings. That's why they can do it. That's why they can gun a black person down. That's why they can rape a black man or a black woman on the street. That's why they can do all of these things and then go home, kiss the kids, read a bedtime story to their kids, kiss their wife, and go home and have a good night's sleep. Because they don't feel like they did anything wrong. And you busy trying to please them and trying to fall in line with them. You're not dealing with rational, upright people. That's why we have to get it right. And those organizations like ISNA that make statements just to please them, they're wrong. And like, as I said before, I would tell black people to boycott them, but we can't afford to attend their functions anyway. We already boycott them. We can't afford. You ever been to an ISNA convention? It's usually in the most expensive area of town. You want to buy a table to vent, that's a few $1,000s. For real. So, and really, like, if you say, what if they're here? It's going to mess up. Like, they don't care about us anyway. Don't even worry about it. So we have to do for ourselves, as I'm always saying from here. And don't think that it's just only in Baltimore. You don't know. It could be right here tomorrow. And what's your position going to be? Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.
Imam Naeem Abdullah of Masjid Al-Mu'min and Nur Zaman Institute is available for speaking engagements. You can contact Imam Naeem Abdullah at the following: via telephone at 267-388-0823 or write him at 537 Paulson Avenue, Pittsburgh, PA 15206, or via email at imamnaeem@nurzamaninstitute.org.
Bismillah.